Hello there, you're watching Go Island, the Remembrance Day edition.
Aaron Visiev Financial's Go Island is brought to you by Aaron Visiev Financial.
Well, welcome back. You are watching Go Island. It is Remembrance Day edition, November 11th, of course, a huge day for remembering the horrors of war, remembering those who served, those who didn't return, and those who did return. Now, for myself, I've always felt a very close connection to Remembrance Day. My father, Walter Wilmot, served in the Air Force. His brother, Archie Wilmot, served in the infantry. And his older brother, Lawrence, served as a chaplain for the West Nova Scotia Regiment. And it's Uncle Laurie's story that I want to tell you today because it's always been a huge part of our family lore. Now, my Uncle Laurie was 34. He was an Anglican minister. He was far too old to think of volunteering for military service, and yet he became convinced that the cause of the Allies was the cause of righteousness, and so he did sign up. And with the West Nova Scotia Regiment, he went to the front lines in Italy. And what he saw, what he experienced, shaped him forever. He lived a very long life until he was 96. Until the day he died, he spoke of those days, and he was passionate about it, changed his worldview. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our family lore, about my Uncle Laurie in just a minute. But first, we're going to go with Jenny Fortin to some of the preparations being made for Remembrance Day in Port Alberni. Well, hello again. You are still watching Go Island, the Remembrance Day edition. We are here at the cenotaph outside of City Hall commemorating World War I, World War II, and the Korean conflict. Now, I was telling you a little bit of a family story of my own about my Uncle Laurie, who served as chaplain with the West Nova Scotia Regiment. When they went to Italy, they served on the front line. Uncle Laurie saw men being mowed down, men from both sides being shot down in front of him in no man's land. And the stretcher bearers were bringing in the wounded. And then the commanding officer gave an order that shaped Laurie's life forever. He told the stretcher bearers to stop. They were not to bring in the wounded. Now, at 34, at 35 by this time, my Uncle Laurie knew a bit of the world. And he understood that as a chaplain, he didn't have to obey that order. And so he tied on a white armband, went into no man's land, and began to carry back wounded. Young men from both sides, and men that he knew were going to be damaged forever by what they had been through, even if they recovered from their wounds. Now, this was an action that he was to repeat over and over and over, rescuing dozens of men during at least 3 different battles, and for which he was awarded a military cross. Now, the military cross didn't really mean that much to my Uncle Lawrence. What did mean something was that he would have a platform for the rest of his life to talk about what he'd seen, to talk about the horrors of war, and to do whatever he could to ensure that it wouldn't happen again. Now, this is Go Island. I'm going to leave you with my Uncle Laurie's story for a few minutes and send you to a happier tale. A story of a woman whose life was changed by World War II through not just the war, but the romance she found. Well, welcome back. You are still watching Go Island, the Remembrance Day edition, a day that we set aside to remember those who have served, those who are still serving, not just in the Great War, in World War I or World War II, or the Korean conflict, but in conflicts that are still happening today. There are veterans among us, families in this community that have sons and daughters serving. Now, I left you with my Uncle Laurie, who had seen action, who was awarded the Military Cross. He lived to be 96 years old, and he wrote several books. And I remember very well going to the last book launch, and he was 95, and he was still writing about this experience, still urging some kind of sanity in the madness that he saw as war. He was shaped by it forever, and I know veterans from those wars and from conflicts today are shaped by what they experience. And for me, that's what Remembrance Day is about. Well, that does bring us to the end of another Go Island. Until we meet again, be good to each other.
Aaron Visiev Financial's Go Island was brought to you by Aaron Visiev Financial, supporting community and providing personalized advice. Supporting community and providing personalized advice and services to clients since 1996.